Welcome to the Water Play Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Hubert. Lucas could not be with us for this episode. And for this week, we have Week 3's recap, Week 4's preview. But it's going to be a much shorter episode with the kind of news that we have is pretty much one team or one sentence or one description. So, to begin, let's do the Week 3 review, which is, we talked about it almost. We talked about it last week. We're talking about it again briefly. Patriots versus the Jets in East Rutherford. Jets winning the game 24-3. Look, it was not a pretty game. Not pretty at all. It was, and we've talked about it almost ad nauseam. Like, we've talked about it. It's exhausting to talk about a game like this when you've talked about it like 3 or 4 different times here. But basically, recap it quickly for the essence of the show. Patriots offensive line looked bad. Wide receivers looked bad. Quarterback looked bad. Running game is awful. Defense struggled at times. Those are things that you can't prepare for as a team. That looked like the team we were expecting to see throughout the whole season, and what we didn't get the first 2 weeks of the season. And the Jets, that's what the Jets are supposed to look like against inferior competition. It's not a great sample size. But when you get a game like that, you can figure things out. Sometimes the score isn't indicative of what you actually figured out. It could just be like, okay, yeah, we scored points, but we didn't do much. We need to do more. Or it could be, okay, yeah, we scored a few times here, but we really figured out a run game or a pass defense or something. It could be as little as that, but have major impact for sure. Next up, the Ravens versus the Cowboys. The Ravens won this game 28-25. It was not a good 28-25. It wasn't like the Ravens had to go down the field, kick a field goal, win the game. It wasn't like the Ravens were down at any point in this game. However, this game was 28-6. So why the Ravens allow Dallas to score 19 points in the final 7.5 minutes should never have happened. It shouldn't have happened at all. And this is people who, I understand, like John Harbaugh is under a lot of fire in Baltimore because they aren't too pleased with his way of doing things in terms of they've allowed teams back into games or don't have a kill shot or something. And that's kind of what happened here. Dallas was, not doing much. And then 7 minutes go in the game, Dallas, got to stop on defense and then go right down the field and score and then get an onside kick recovery and then go back down the field and score again. And then stop you again and then go right back down the field and score again. Like, those things cannot happen if you are in that room. It can't happen. You cannot allow Dallas to go that quickly, score touchdowns, go for 2-point conversion, did not get it, but then go for an onside kick, get it, go back down the field, score again, not get the 2-point conversion, stop you after you recovered the onside, the second onside, after you recovered it, go back down the field as quickly as they want, score a touchdown, kick the field goal, boom, there's your 19 points. And that was in the span of 3 minutes. Those can't happen. You nearly cost the game to a team that was not playing very well. Couldn't stop you on the ground, and yet you could not find a way to put them over. And for Dallas, look, they were bad in this game. They were really bad. The rush defense was a problem. We'll get into that in a little bit with the news and even what happened on Thursday's game against the Giants. They were not good on rush defense. They gave up, I think it was close to 200 yards on the ground. That's bad. That's really bad. They were not good. They were getting outgained. outclassed a lot of the time. That like those things cannot happen. Those things cannot consistently happen. I'm gonna try and hang on 1 second. I'm just gonna fix this light back here. See if that does anything. Okay, yeah, that's better. So you have a team in the Cowboys that they were not good on run defense. The Ravens were outclassing them on that front. And okay, this light is very distracting. Get it back up. Sacrifice light so I can see. Okay, but they were getting outclassed. The Cowboys were on the ground, just getting outbullied, and you saw, okay, like there's issues here, which do need to be addressed. Hence the reason why we just talked about the Patriots and Jets game. You face a team that you're supposed to win, just try and figure some stuff out. Like, win the game ultimately, but try to figure some things out. Next up, Lions versus the Cardinals. If you remember, me and Lucas picked this game. We said this is who's winning this game. The Cardinals were, and the Lions go 20-13 and win this game. Now, I saw all these talking heads. They're all sitting nice and high on their chairs, and they say, "Oh, you should go score 30 and stuff like that." Now, 'tis the more you forget, which is kind of a phrase I'm throwing together. The more you forget. Okay, the less you remember, the more you forget. Win the game is the ultimate goal. Who cares if you win by 7, win by 5, win by 35? Who cares? It doesn't matter. Win the game. We'll worry about the score some other time. Right now, let's win the game. If you win the game 31-30, I mean, I'm not pleased by our defense giving up 30, but I'm pleased that we won the game. It's the same thing. Who cares if you win a game 19-18, or if you win the game 35-34? Who cares? You won the game, and that's what matters. In the Lions case, look, we said this last year, they're going to score 20. They're going to have their defense say, don't let them score 20, and we'll win the game 20-17, 20-13. And that's what they did. That is expected. Win the game, don't care how you win it. That's all you got to do. Next up, 49ers versus Rams. In the injury bowl that I didn't cleverly phrase it, but I'm just saying, look, the Rams won this game late. They were down 14, and then all of a sudden, issues started to arise for the 49ers. Drops, inability to stop the Rams offense that does not have Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua. When your top receiver is Tutu Atwell, and the one thing you cannot allow Atwell to do is get by you, and what you do, you let him get by you. That's what happens. Kyron Williams had 3 touchdowns, and then they go down the field to kick the field goal. That can't happen. I don't care if you're injured. You can't allow a team, like especially the Rams, like that. That's a divisional game. If you're injured, you still can't allow it to happen. And they did. The Rams winning this game 27-24. That's a 14-point game at one point. Can't happen. Can't have it. Next up, Chiefs vs. Falcons. We talked about this on the Wednesday show. Chiefs win 22-17. No, I did not see the pass interference call. No, it is. I know there's look, it's pass interference. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it spade a spade. It is what it is. It was not a good call to not have a call in that situation, I should say. But the Falcons at the end still had a chance to go and win it, and decided they were going to run a weird play call for no reason. The Chiefs, and we'll talk about this about surprise 3-0 teams. I think there's some interesting answers to that. Let's see what happens when we get there. But the Chiefs, again, this leads into my next question in the news is, what is up with Travis Kelce? What is going on? It's like every once in a while, you watch a game and you say, okay, this guy did great. This guy had 10 catches for 100 yards or something like that. Or it was targeted 17 times and has 12 catches for 140 or whatever. Travis Kelce is usually those guys. Those guys, they have that. And then you go and say, okay, wait, he only had 4 targets, 2 catches, 16 yards? What happened? And that's kind of where it's been. And you look at it, you just look up and here, and you're like, what? No. They forgot a 0. No, they forgot something here. There's something going on. And like we said, are they trying to get other people involved? Maybe. Are they trying to get Worthy the ball more? Probably. But at the same time, you throw the ball to Travis Kelce, and Mahomes and Reed have had to defend him, which I don't think he should have them doing, I guess. They shouldn't be doing it. But I don't think they've been good. And if Travis keeps this up, this is not a good thing to look at. I don't think he's, and understand, he's 30, he's going to be 35. That's old for a tight end, okay? That is old. As a pass catcher and a guy who's gotten his body beaten up as he was before, that's not helpful. So I think it's a combination of things, but it could just be as simple as, remember last year, we talked about Philadelphia, how there was something off about them. We didn't know what, but there was something there. Might be the case for the Chiefs this year. And it might be as simple as saying they can't get Travis Kelce the ball, and therefore are relying on other guys to do the job. Which, that's, again, something off with the Chiefs is basically that. Is there something going on? What is going on? How do you explain when it's going on? And, it's not the defense. The defense looks good. It's the offense. It's like they're off a little. You don't know why, but they're off. So there is problems with the Chiefs. Is it as simple as saying Travis Kelce? Sure, it could be. Is it something else? It might be. The offensive line's not better. I mean, the interior is good. Humphrey, Tooney, and Smith, they're really good. It's the outsides that I'm concerned about. That's concerning. Now, this could be concerning, but it might not be concerning. The Steelers might have a quarterback controversy. Well, Russell Wilson was listed as a questionable for this game, because as we tape this is a Friday, so I get notifications all day long about if a player is questionable, doubtful, inactive. I get it all the time, but on Fridays especially. And I'm looking on my thing, and actually I can look at it right now, and it says right here, Russ, questionable, Sunday. Goes on, continues. Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson, calf issue, uncertain for matchup with Colts. That pretty much sums it up. And, a lot of people have had kind of injuries like that before. They're injuries that don't go away. A calf issue, especially when you get older, doesn't go away. Now, in the absence, Justin Fields has played, and he's played well. Yeah, he didn't do a whole lot weeks 1 and 2, but week 3 he really played well. And I remember I watched the first game that the Steelers played. I thought Justin Fields looked good. I really did. The score didn't say that, but his play said that. He looked good. They just couldn't score. And then in the second game, I didn't catch that game. But when I went back and looked at it, he played well again. They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't get into negative issues or anything like that, putting their defense in a bind. They didn't do that. That's good. Week 3, he actually produced a little bit. The offense did some work, and it helped the defense out, and they won that game. So it leads into a topic we get to in a little bit of what is the most surprising 3-0 team. It's really interesting. Inside the Cowboys-Bengals struggles, we talked about this on a Wednesday show on the NFL World YouTube channel. Go check it out. But to briefly recap, Dallas's inability to run the ball on offense and defend the run on defense is really a troubling sight. It is concerning. But if they could fix one side of that and do okay with, like I said on Wednesday, if they can make it go from 32 to 24, 32 to 20, now I'm like, okay, it's not great, but it's pretty good. It's better, and that's what you want. You want better. And the Bengals, their defense is a nightmare. They don't play well. They're not efficient. I'm concerned. I'm very concerned if I'm the Bengals. Like, Joe Burrow was not the reason you lost yesterday. Or on Monday, I should say. He was not the reason. Jamar Chase is not the reason. Zach Moss is not. No one on that offense is the reason. They're not. Your star quarterback throws for 300 yards. 3 touchdowns. Your best receiver catches 2 of those touchdowns. Deep routes. They're not short routes. They're fairly deep down the field. Those guys did their job. The offensive line did its job. Who didn't do their job if you lost? Was it the kicker? No. I mean, yes, he missed a field goal. Absolutely. But was it his fault? No. The offense missed a 2-point conversion. I guess that counts as 5. But that's not on them. They give you the ball back, and they say, defense, you got 5 minutes left on the clock. We need this ball back. We would prefer if we get this ball back before 2 minutes left in the game, so we can go down the field and win this thing. But we need you to get off the field. Actually, scratch it. There's not even 5 minutes. There's 9 minutes on the clock. There's 8, 9 minutes on the clock. We need the ball back with about 5 or 6 minutes left. Can you do it? Don't let them score. Don't let them have an opportunity. Stop them. Give us this ball back. What did they proceed to do? A 7-minute drive. A 7-minute drive they gave up. Jaden Daniels ran around, made a couple plays on 3rd down, a couple plays on 4th down, and the Bengals couldn't stop him. Like, blaming anyone on the offense is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. You know how I said earlier between Detroit and the Cardinals, and we'll talk about it a little bit into the recapping of the Cowboys and Giants game? Win the game. And when you have a team that you're supposed to win that game and figure some things out. Don't care the score. The Bengals, I'm not saying they should have won this game, but you need to figure some stuff out. You don't have time. You don't have the time. Your defense is bad. You don't get to the quarterback. Your coverage is awful. You don't tackle well. You're not making plays. That's a problem. That is a problem. It needs to be addressed. So address it. Because you don't have time to do this. You're losing out. The Steelers, look, the Steelers have found themselves at 3-0. Both the Browns and the Ravens are 1-2. You're 0-3. You're lucky it's close. You're lucky you're 1 win away from second place. You really are. You're very lucky. Because this can get away from you very quickly. You cannot allow that to happen. That starts with heading into week 4. We have to figure this out. And I do think they will. But it's at some point this defense has to be better. Now, the surprise 3-0 team, and there's quite a few. I've seen people say the Vikings. And absolutely, Sam Darnold was not expected to do anything with this Vikings team because you look at it, you say, okay, he wasn't even the starter. And then JJ gets to it. And then, he's the starter. It's not going to be good. And then all of a sudden, boom, 3-0. You're like, oh, okay, all right. That works for me. And then you look at the Steelers, they're 3-0. And you're like, wow, how did they get there? Because they don't do much on offense. Defense, they do a lot of the work. What about the Chiefs? They're 3-0. The Bills are 3-0. So I think the surprising one, the best answer for me to give is, in fact, and it's odd to say, is the Chiefs. It's a weird answer because you think about it, they're so close to being 1-2. They're so close at the same time. And that's kind of how it is. When you have Lady Luck on your side and you can win games. You won first game of the year by a toe. You won game 2 against the Bengals by a field goal when you shouldn't have really had it. You won in game 3 because they don't call pass interference in the red zone, in the end zone, and so therefore the Falcons don't get the ball at the 1, yet still get the ball back, drive down, and make a terrible play call. And that's how you win the game. They're so close to being 1-2 or even 0-3, it makes no sense. And sometimes that's a heads and tails of the situation. What it is. Next up, injury woes for the Philadelphia Eagles. They've had offensive lineman issues. I think Lane Johnson was on the sideline. He didn't practice. Both wide receivers, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, have not practiced this week. And, I'm not going to say how to do your business, of course, because that's not fair for me. But you need those guys out there. I mean, you got so lucky against the Saints. Saquon, big run, scores a touchdown. Dallas Goedert getting wide open on a crossing route and no one being on that side of the field for the Saints. And then Saquon punching it in and getting the 2-point try because of Saquon. Legit, you won that game because Dallas Goedert and Saquon Barkley played great, and everyone else was like, we're not going to show up until like 3 minutes left of the game. That's what they did. That is how they played it. So, yeah, there is injury problems. And it's not an easy game either. You play Tampa Bay. That's a tough game, dude. That's tough. It's not an easy game. And now all of a sudden, our deep threat is taken away. Guy who we spent a number 1 pick on a couple years ago, who's extremely talented, gets open, and we refer to him as Skinny Batman and all that stuff. He's not playing, and now all of a sudden our offensive lineman is out. Like, that's problem central. That is an issue. It has to be addressed. San Francisco and Philadelphia, the injury bug is there, and that's something you don't know how to address fully. Talking about injuries, let's start with Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett re-injured his foot. Is considered day-to-day, week-to-week, He'll fight through it. It is what it is, but he's your best guy, and you need him out on the field. If you don't have him on the field, that Browns team is not the same, period. So, you need him there. Broncos linebacker Alex Singleton, who is the team's leading tackler, out for the rest of the year, tore his ACL in week 3, actually played on it. So, when people ask, how do you do that? An ACL, how do you play on that? Some guys, they just don't feel it. They don't know. And then, you got a guy like Tom Brady or guys who really know how to treat their bodies. They strengthen every other ligament in their body to the point that if like an ACL, an MCL, even a meniscus happens, it is very much possible they just don't know it's there because it doesn't affect them. Everything else is strengthened except that, and that's the one thing that hit. So he's out for the year. And then, still on the injury front, Tua Tagovailoa was talking. He's saying how he does want to play sometime. He does want to play again at some point of the season. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, don't do it, Tua. Don't do it. I mean, I told you when Tua got hurt. I said that Sunday. I said, when I saw it on NFL Network that Tua says he wants to play. He doesn't want to retire. He's going to play at some point. When, I don't know. And him saying, I do want to play again at some point this year. But like I said a week ago, it's still as evident as it was then. I like that the Dolphins saying, this isn't on our timetable. This is on the Tua Tagovailoa timetable. The Dolphins have no timetable. Tua, we're on Tua's time. See what happens. So, could we officially be on Tua watch? Yeah. because the Dolphins didn't look good last week without him when they played Seattle and Skylar Thompson was in there, and Skylar Thompson gets hurt and they have to put in Tim Boyle. Okay? So, yes, we are on watch for Tua. And final news before we hit into the recapping of the Cowboys and Giant game. This news came as a shocker to me. So Brett Favre was meeting Congress. I believe it was to talk about the welfare scandal that he's wrapped up in. And, you can call him whatever you want, indecent human being. He didn't like he was suing your favorite people, whatever. You call him whatever you want. You could love him, hate him, despise him, I don't care. But when I heard this news, there's a part of me that was like, oh, that's bad. Brett Favre was at Congress and said he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, which, I had an aunt who had MS. So MS, ALS, which is what Mongo McMichael has, and Parkinson's are very closely related. It basically just shuts off one body part at a time. But Parkinson's, you cannot die from it. It's just brutal. And my when I heard that, I was thinking, and I said this on the NFL World YouTube channel. I said, how many injuries, how many concussions has Brett suffered, and was that a key contributor in the fact that he has Parkinson's? We don't know. And the answer is we don't know because we are not able to give that example. So for Brett, we hope everything is okay. We hope everything is all right. Again, love him, hate him, but when you get health-related issues, that everything about if you love or hate a person goes out the window. That you just want that person to be good enough health. Because once you start saying things like, I'm happy you get hurt, that's not the position we are. We play a game for a living, okay? We talk about a game for a living. How lucky we are. People work in the fields harvesting wheat by hand or on a machine all day long and get all these kinds of other diseases and die. Like, who are we to say anything about medical conditions? And so we just hope Brett is okay. And, hopefully he's around in good enough health to be around for a long time. Now, I know it's hard to get back into football. We're going to try and do this here. Cowboys versus the Giants. The Cowboys won this game 20-15. And you know how he said about the Lions beating the Cardinals 20-13, about how that was they're going to win 20 and hold you less than 20? That was kind of this. Now, they're talking against, we know everything kind of thing. No, you don't. I watched the game. It was a flag fest. Not going to disagree. But what Thursday night game are you going to go see? Perfect offense, perfect defense, perfect special teams from each team. No penalties. It's clean. There's no fumbles. There's no turnovers. Never going to happen. Never. I don't care. I really don't care. You will never see it happen. So there was a lot of I agree with that. A lot of guys got tired. A few guys got hurt. We will talk about that. But I want to shout out 2 players from each team. We'll start with the Giants because they were the home team. Kayvon Thibodeau had his way with the young offensive tackle Tyler Guyton. Had his way. Did everything. And people criticize players. Oh, you didn't get a sack on that play. You didn't get this on that play. Being a pass rusher is way more than getting a sack. It's stopping the run. It's affecting passes, getting the quarterback's psyche in any possible way. Getting in the offensive lineman's psyche in any possible way. That's what he did. It's what he did. It's not hard to understand that. But if you're focused on the stats, throw those things away. That's not how you affect the game. Watch the game. You can see it happen. Kayvon Thibodeau was a factor. He played with an A+ effort. He was doing everything. Tyler Guyton was stuck doing everything he possibly could do, and he was still struggling. That's a great performance by Kayvon Thibodeau. And the second player for the Giants was obviously Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors, and this is not in any particular order, by the way. But Malik Neighbors had an awesome game. He was all over the place. You couldn't stop that guy. They threw 3 passes to him in a row, and he caught every one. Now, part of that is they don't have anyone else to throw to besides him and Wan'Dale Robinson. That's it. So, which kind of took it the end of the game. For the Cowboys, it was both defensive players. It's not Micah Parsons. It's not DeMarcus Lawrence. It's not this guy or this guy. It's some guys you may never have heard of, unless you're a Cowboys fan, in which case you were expecting this at some point. And it was 2 second-year guys, Mozzie Smith and DeMarvion Overshown. This might have been Mozzie Smith's coming out party. This was insane. I mean, like, look, he didn't get a sack. He didn't force a quarterback hit. He didn't force a throwaway. He didn't do that. But he pushed the pocket. He was a menace. That's what he did. He was a pass. That's what he did. He's a big dude. There's one play. It's a run play. The run is off to the side, and it's tackled for a loss. I didn't care about the tackle. I looked at the center, the young second-year center, John Michael Schmitz, against Mozzie Smith, and Mozzie Smith pushed him back 10 yards. They just kept pushing back. Boom. I'm like, what? Forget the tackle. The tackle I could care less. Look at that. What happened? He just pushed him back like 10 yards. That's incredible. And then he made a couple tackles, a couple stuffs, which the Cowboys have had struggles with. So I was very pleased with Mozzie Smith's effort. Also, DeMarvion Overshown, I was like, this guy is flying everywhere. He's everywhere. Give him the chances to be everywhere. Let him be on the field. I don't care if he's small. Let him be on the field. It's the closing speed that is so terrifying. It's the most terrifying thing. They threw a ball to Malik Neighbors in it was like a 3 or 4 yard route. And DeMarvion Overshown isn't even in coverage. And he crashes. Every coach says this. In a certain ways of saying, I'm going to use the PG version, the version you were taught when you were very young. Play when your hair is on fire. Play like your hair is on fire. That's what he does. That's what he does. He plays like his hair is on fire. He's all over the place. And he's doing everything right, which is insane. But he plays like his hair is on fire. He plays like he's going 2 times the speed you are, which is terrifying. Also, the fact that he's coming off an ACL injury, which is even more terrifying. So, shout out to both Mozzie Smith and DeMarvion Overshown for the Cowboys side and for the Giants side, Kayvon Thibodeau and Malik Neighbors. Neighbors ended up getting hurt in this game, suffered a concussion late. They really needed him on the last drive. He wasn't there. The Cowboys, let's do it this way. When I said figure some stuff out, what do you chance to figure out? Okay, the rushing offense is bad. How do you fix it? They ran the ball to the outside a little bit. They actually, guess what? They ran the ball to the outside a couple times. It worked. They pitched the ball to CeeDee Lamb in the backfield. It was a toss play. I'm like, oh my gosh, they ran a toss play. Like, I thought that was illegal. Because apparently we weren't doing it. And all of a sudden they got 8-10 yards out of it. I'm like, oh, that's what you did. Stop trying to run it up the middle. That worked. Keep doing that. The offense was efficient. They got CeeDee Lamb involved, both in obviously the running game and the passing game. They kind of got away from it at the end, but they shouldn't have, which has always been an issue with the Cowboys. I think they get away from it sometimes. I don't know why. I'm still looking for someone to step up and help him a little bit. Need some help. No, it can't just be Jake Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb all the time. Someone else help. Brandon Cooks help. Jalen Tolbert help. Get somebody help. Someone has to help. The offensive line is still a problem. A lot of short area passes for both teams. Not for the same reason, but for the Cowboys, it was short area passing because they don't trust this offensive line. They just don't. The rush defense, I mean, anytime you go the last 2 weeks and you've given up over 200 yards, your rush defense is a problem. They gave up. The Giants had 24 carries for 26 or 29 yards, depending on where you go. 1.1 yards per carry. That's crazy. That is insane. And it was not just up the middle. It was onto the sides. They really played more physical. Now, half of that is Dable deciding, I don't want to run it up the middle every time. That's not who beat this Cowboy defense. But when they did run into the outside, the Cowboys actually had some people there and made the play. So, great. Okay. Now, I understand it's the Giants. It's not the best rushing team in the world. But if you can do that, I just want to see effort at this point. I want to see effort. Both of these teams were 1-2 heading into this game. I want to see effort. I want to see, okay, we're not letting this get away from us. We're playing still well enough. We got to win. We're right about there. We just got to find a way to win. And that's what they did. And they won for it. Now, again, score not indicative. The Cowboys, actually, to be honest with you, the Cowboys were outgained again. The passing offense for the Giants was dominating the Cowboys. The Cowboys couldn't stop it. I mean, it happens when you have they had basically their second understudy playing corner. You know how you have a play, you have an understudy if a person can't go. This was like the understudy's understudy because Deron Bland is out, he's on IR. The rookie, Kalen Carson, he's out. So they put Andrew Booth back there. I mean, he gave up a big game, and then they never trusted him after that, really. They did not trust him. And in the second half, they said, nope, you're out, practice squad player. Now, I'm going to say this right. I said it right during the game, and then after I couldn't say it right. Amani Oruwariye. Okay, he's been in the league a little while. 5 years. He went to Penn State. But I believe he also played with Micah Parsons at one point. He was on the practice squad. They called him up to potentially play special teams. They put him in. They said, okay, you're in. In fact, the Cowboys are having issues with dehydration and all kinds of stuff. That when Trayvon Diggs went down with dehydration and had to go get an IV, they didn't even put Andrew Booth back in. They said, nope, McQuarma, you're up. Who's a special team? They said, no, you're up. We're not. We don't trust him. You're in. Let's go. That's what they did. They didn't trust him. The injuries to the Cowboys, I'm sure you have heard it, but you might not be completely aware. Micah Parsons had a stinger. Then later in the game, got hurt again. Has a high ankle sprain. How long he's out, we'll see. The Cowboys have about 10 days to get it right, so let's see what happens there. DeMarcus Lawrence, foot issue. Could be a multi-week thing, according to Tom Pelissero. But 10 days. 10 days to get ready. So maybe something happens. Maybe they don't play him out of conservative thinking. That's kind of been with the way McCarthy goes with that, which is not a bad thing. But it all depends on what happens over the course of the couple days. Talking about the Giants now, besides Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson, they didn't do much on offense. They got the ball into the red zone 5 times and kicked 5 field goals. That's the best way I can put it. Defense looked good. Thibodeau had a great day, as I said before. Brian Burns looked pretty good. Dexter Lawrence got double teamed basically every time. Tells you what kind of a guy he is, of how good he is. Secondary, I thought did decently well. They just at the end, you can't hold on forever, and that's a problem. For Daniel Jones, the stats look good. It's a lot of underneath stuff. They didn't throw it deep that much because he's not accurate deep. But when they gave him time, he looked good. It was just when you're throwing the ball maybe 15, 20 yards, and the one throw that you hit deep was a guy who was wide open, and a lot of underthrown deep balls, that cannot help you. You can't have that. So, in both teams, again, it's not because Daniel Jones' offensive line is bad, it's because they don't trust him. They don't trust him. And they're conservative for it. Next up, Rams vs. Bears. Bears are favored by 3. I took the Bears only because it's not going to be a fun game, and they're the most healthy right now. So 24-17 is my score. Patriots vs. 49ers. Niners favored by 10. George Kittle's expected to play in this game, taking the Niners. I don't trust the Patriots' offense, and their defense is not much better. So I'm taking the Niners. Big game for the Niners, 31-10. Next up, Chiefs vs. Chargers. +8 for the Chargers. Who knows if Justin Herbert, excuse me, I made that mistake on Wednesday too, jeez. But this is going to be a divisional game. Patrick Mahomes has dominated in the AFC West. I'm going to take the Chiefs until they show me otherwise that they should be taken. So I don't think they cover, but I think it scores 24-20 Chiefs. And then Bills vs. Ravens. Ravens favored by 2.5. I'm taking the Ravens just because, I think they squeak it out at the end. And they win this game 31-28. And that is the end of the What to Play podcast. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to win and who is the surprising 3-0 team. For the What to Play podcast, for Jacob and Lucas, out.